Hello. Hello. Morning, Shankaran. Joining today? You are joining today? Very good, very good, very good. Thank you. Fine, very good.
बिना मास्क लगाए नहीं बैठना है। बेंचा ने आप मास्क नहीं है।
धन्यवाद।
समय
करूँ? हाँ, चैनल।
Friends, good morning, everybody.
Good morning, bye.
We have the privilege of our chairman, my philosopher guide, Shri Praful Joshi, PC Joshi Sahab, our past national president, and a wizard on the indirect tax law, particularly GST law, to be the chairman of this session. We have the privilege of having Mr. H.L. Madan, a senior chartered accountant, a man who is a prolific speaker, a man who has given thousands of lectures as the speaker for today. The subject is a very burning subject, and I think it would be beneficial for all. Friends, this is the AFTP Central Zone, which is the 10th seminar in the series of seminar being conducted by AFTP Central Zone. And from today, we will be having. I think I have to mute all again. And friends, from today, we will be having all the webinars at 10 o'clock daily. So I request you all to circulate this information to all your professional groups. Be there at 10 o'clock daily. The meeting will start at 9:30 and we can join and have a chit chat between us, and we will start at 9:50 sharp. We have Mr. B.R. Kaushal, Ashok Goda, Himanshu Roy, Navi Sharma, Upi Shukla, Vijay Navalaka, and our own National Vice President Rajesh Mehta, a prolific speaker. We have seen him. And yesterday was a great day in the history of AFTP and AFTP Central Zone. We had crossed more than 1,000 persons, and there were 400 persons in waiting. There were 400 persons in waiting, and it was a historic occasion as the top echelon of the Income Tax Appellate Tribunal. That is the Honorable President, the Vice President of North, South, East, West, all had joined us, and we got the reviews from them. They were so happy to join us. They were so happy to address 1,000 persons. They were so happy to address on the webinar, and they were very happy to see that we are very punctual of time. We adhere to the time and the timelines given. So everything is mentioned, and that is the beauty of this seminar. We want everything to be on time. Friends, we had already circulated you the program of the webinar for the coming 9 days. And if you see, all these webinars, they had been scheduled as per the requirement of the members. What I would request all of you, please send your comments on directly to me on my mobile or on the chat mode. What topic you want any specific query, you want any specific webinar, and we will try to adjust the same, and we will try to work out the same. Friends, with these opening remarks, I think we have Mr. Rajesh Joshi with us, our National Vice President, and I would request Rajesh Mehta to start the webinar program of today, that is at 10 a.m. and we request you to be daily present with us at 10 a.m. Rajesh Mehta ji, you are live now.
Thank you, sir, Pankaj Ghia ji. First of all, thanks to all for making the yesterday's program a grand success. And the key person behind the yesterday's success was also our great Pankaj Ghia ji, under whose efficient and systematic management we could get this success. And today we are having a very good topic, that a valuation aspect under GST. So this is a very important and useful topic which have been selected by our team. And today we are having a great person of GST and our past president PC Joshi Sahab, and the speaker of today's webinar is HL Madan Sahab. So I welcome them and I welcome all the participants of today's program. So now I hand over the mic again to Pankaj Ghia ji.
Friends, Vinay Jolly ji, you have to unmute your mic. Friends, it is a privilege that because of your joining, because of your suggestions, because of your pointers, we had been able to conduct this series in a successful manner, and you had joined in large numbers. And it is because that you are circulating this information to all your professional groups. Friends, because of your circulation of the information, we had been joined by so large number. We had Mr. B.R. Kaushal, Mr. Santosh Gupta and all who had been circulating this information time and again. I would now request Vinay Kumar Jolly, the active, versatile and energetic chairman of the AIFTP Central Zone, to say a few words. Mr. Vinay Kumar Jolly.
Thank you, Pankaj ji. Our chairman, respected Shri PC Joshi sir, past president of AIFTP, eminent speaker, respected Shri HL Madan sir, all office bearer of all zone and nationals, chief advisor of Central Zone, my dear friend Pankaj Ghia ji, senior members and my professional colleagues. Very good morning to you all. Respected chairman sir, eminent speaker sir, senior members, professional colleagues, I personally and on behalf of the organizing committee of AIFTP Central Zone welcome you all and wish to thank from the bottom of my heart. It has always been the purpose behind such webinars, conferences, to provide our members with an opportunity to listen the learned and experienced faculty on very pertinent topics. A professional plays a vital role in overall development and upfillment of the national economy and society. That is the reason why he must be well updated and well versed, so that the desired objectives can be achieved in an efficient manner. That is main reason behind organizing this webinar, that our members can be well versed with the burning topics in the direct tax, indirect tax, as well as other laws, so that they can effectively discharge their professional duties towards the society. I am sure that the participants will be benefited this webinar series too. With this, again, welcome you all and wish this webinar series a grand success. Jai Hind. And I hand over my.
Thank you, Vinay bhai. We have the joint secretary of our zone, Mr. Hemant Mode from Jabalpur. हेमंत जी, अगर आप मेरी आवाज सुन रहे हैं, आपका माइक अनलॉक कर दिया है, प्लीज आई वुड रिक्वेस्ट यू टू से अ फ्यू वर्ड्स शॉर्टली.
Thank you, sir. I am very glad to call me at this part 2 of the webinar organized by the Central Zone, and it is a very good success and having the very good opportunity to take knowledge of from the AIFTP forum. It's a great efforts by making by Shri Pankaj Ghia ji, and I welcome all the participants who are regularly joining this webinar and getting the knowledge through this forum. Thank you, Pankaj ji.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. Hemant Mode Sahab is from Jabalpur, a senior person, a senior consultant, advocate, and he is the joint secretary of the Central Zone. I would now request the secretary Central Zone, AIFTP, Mr. Sandeep Agarwal, to welcome all.
Good morning, all of you. I welcome you all in a series 2 of our webinars. of All India Federation of Tax Practitioners Central Zone. I welcome our today's learned chairman, past president AIFTP PC Joshi sir. I am thankful to his speaker, senior chartered accountant HL Madan sir. I am sure you are enjoying a lot, learning a lot. Thankful to you all. Keep stay with us, keep tuned with us. Thank you all.
Thank you, Sandeep ji. And friend, I can say that today we have a privilege of having two leading personalities with us, both the experts, both the wizards on GST. Shri PC Joshi sir, I have no words to say. I am too junior to say anything for him. He is the founder of All India Federation of Tax Practitioners, and we are privileged to have him here on our webinar as the chairman of this session. He is always a guiding factor for all of us. He is a father figure for all the professionals throughout India. And friends, it is you from east, west, north, south, central, all the participants joining from each and every part of the country, each and every nook and corner of the country, that is making this webinar series a success. And I think none can be more happy than our chairman, Mr. PC Joshi sir, because it was his vision, it was his thought that we should join together and have a national platform. And sir, we are having a national platform. We are having Mr. HL Madan, a senior chartered accountant from Delhi, as the speaker. No words are required for HL Madan Sahab. HL Madan Sahab is a wizard. He has addressed more than 1,000 seminars. He is a revered figure throughout the country. He has traveled breadth and length of the country, giving speeches and giving opinions. He is a person to whom you can call any time, and he will answer your query to the best of his ability. Friends, we have such wonderful persons with us. Friends, we will be coming up with many new surprises. We'll be starting after 3 minutes. The time is, we are punctual with the time, and we will be starting after 3 minutes. It is almost 9:57, and we will be starting sharp at 11 o'clock. From 11 to 11:10, you will be hearing the chairman's remark. 11:10 to 11:45, there would be the presentation.
10.
10, sir. I am sorry, 10 o'clock. I am not got into the habit of moving from 11 to 10. That is the purpose of the chairman. Always he can correct anybody. And thank you, sir, for that. And we will be starting. Friends, I would suggest you that if you have any queries regarding any of the programs, and if you have advanced queries, please let us know so that we can circulate it to the speaker and he can address those queries through his presentation. I would request you all also to please raise your hands, not like this. Raise your hands by the tap of the tap on the mobile, and there is an option of raising of hand so that we can take your queries at the end of the session, and we will be answering all the queries. The speaker would be answering all the queries, and then the chairman would be free to supplement or dissent or accept all the answers as replied by the chairman. So the mics of the chairman and the speaker will be open at the end of the session, and then we will be starting the session. Friends, I hope you must have all got the next 9 days series program, and we had covered all type of topics in those 9 days, and we had covered and a topic that is on 25th April, intellectual property right. That is a wonderful topic. Don't think it is neither income tax nor GST. It is intellectual property right, and each and every day, even your brand of your professional firm, it can be registered, and it would be required to be registered if you have a brand with you. So every client requires those things, and I think you will be requiring and hearing those intellectual property rights thing. Apart from it, we have some wonderful topic on charitable trust and reassessments and other. And with these things, I think we can start now. And I would start with these words: good morning, India, because it is India, east, west, north, south, and we look forward to see you daily at 9:45 a.m. daily. Join us daily at 9:45 a.m. on the Zoom platform. The same ID would continue. the same methodology would continue and we would be having wonderful webinars. I would now request our chairman, Shri PC Joshi sir, the national past president of All India Federation of Tax Practitioners, a man, a wizard, a doyen of the tax profession. We are now saying Bhishma Pitama of the tax profession. And I would request chairman sir to start his deliberations. Sir, you are open.
Thank
Over
you
to
very
you.
much and good morning to everybody.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning. I am really happy to see lot many faces of my old friends like Shankar Narayan from Kochi and TC Jain from Jaipur. It's really a wonderful opportunity for me to participate because I always believe that a person is always a learner, and I would always learn the law as and when it develops, because every minute it gets development. And therefore, if you all remember, we are all presently watching Mahabharata. In Mahabharata, if you have seen, the Pandavas are in seclusion, they are in Vanvas. And during those Vanvas also, Arjuna, Yudhishthira, they are all sharpening their weapons for the future battle. Similarly, we all during 40 days seclusion or quarantine should sharpen our weapons. And what are our weapons? Our weapons are increase the capacity, increase the or update the intel. We have heard 10 intel, but our should be intel 20 and more than 20. So it should always be something like every moment there is a process, and that is called 20 intel. Friends, today's topic is under GST. Now GST is now we are nearly 3 years of its enforcement, and still it has not settled. Why it has not settled? There are many reasons which I could foresee. The first one is I would say the drafting of the law in very hasty manner. It's a mixture of practically all laws. That is custom, excise, sales tax, VAT, and service tax. Another thing is the manner in which it is administered. They have adopted the manner of administering excise law, and that consequently follows the continuous flow of notifications. Sometimes notifications are withdrawn or amended, and then circulars, and then whatnot, orders, press note. So everything gets confused in the mind of people like us. Now, what is the correct law? As of today, I am sure nobody is in a position to tell us that this is the law as far as particular aspect of the matter is concerned. Now, today's topic is, let me tell you, very important. Why? Because for a valid law, there has to be a taxable event, another a taxable person, and the third is the rate at which the tax has to be paid and the manner of its collection, etc. That we may consider. But the basic question is that the general sales tax, I would say CGST, etc., would apply only to a person. Now, if you see the definition of person, it includes company. It does not include branches thereof. That is something which I would leave it to for some other lecture. But I would like all of you to apply your mind that who is taxable person? Now, taxable person is a person who is liable for registration under 22 and 24, not 25. 25 is a procedural provision, and therefore 25 cannot override the charging section 7, which speaks of person. So therefore, basically, there has to be a supply. That supply has to be a taxable supply, and that supply has to be for a consideration in the course of a business or in the furtherance of a business. Therefore, one has to first find out whether there is a taxable supply. Once the taxable supply is found out, you will have to necessarily ascertain what is the value, because the artificial valuation is provided in section 15, read with the necessary rules. The relevant rules are the 27 to 35. Now, these rules and section 15 have to be considered along with 3 schedules appended to the Act, CGST Act, plus the many notifications beginning from 10 and 11 of 17. Then kindly see the provisions of section 9, section 7. Section 9 also provides for the valuation to be made as provided in section 15. And therefore, one will have to first ascertain what will be the value on which the taxable person has to pay tax. Basically, it is a provision which contains inclusions as also exclusions, coupled with explanations. And the basic and important explanation is about related person. This is very important. When can you say that it's a related, the transactions of supply? First of all, it should be basically a supply for a consideration in the course of business. These are the main basic ingredients that has to be considered when you consider any transaction, whether it is a supply, taxable supply, in the course of business, and that too for a consideration. Consideration has been defined, which will take its own full seminar, webinar, we can consider it. But as far as today is concerned, we have with us a very learned person. I would say Mr. Madan is virtually what you call a mobile guidance for all of us. He is a mobile guidance for all of us. He is a guidance for anybody, anytime, as Pankaj rightly pointed out, that he is a person who will, what you call, clarify any point whenever you desire to have clarification. Now, I will request Mr. Madan, but I feel that he will accord us the non-taxable supply of transferring his expertise, knowledge, and experience to all of us, for which we are privileged to have him today. Over to Mr. Madan. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. It was a privilege hearing the chairman, sir. And for the benefit of all the participants, can say our chairman, sir, Shri P.C. Joshi sahab, is a young old man. I always say young because he's just, I think, if to be corrected, he's only 85 years old.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
So he's a man, a Bhishma Pitama, a father figure for all of the tax fraternity. Shri P.C. Joshi sahab, the chairman, we will see his concluding remarks also. And I, not taking much of your time, directly coming to the topic, we have Shri H.L. Madan, Senior Chartered Accountant from Delhi, a man of unpickable credentials, a wizard, a prolific speaker, a writer, a presenter in more than 1,000 seminars, and it is a privilege for all of us to hear him. And when he will start speaking, friends, I am happy to announce that for the continuous success of this seminar, we are crossing 500 delegates as of now. We are crossing 500 delegates, and it is only because of your presence, because of your admiration, because of your support. Thank you all. A good clapping for Mr. H.L. Madan. We had crossed 500 delegates, and I would now request Shri H.L. Madan sir to start his deliberations. Shri H.L. Madan sir.
Sir, Pankaj here, sir. Good morning.
Sir, good morning, sir. Good morning.
Good morning, Madan.
I'm
Yes,
audible, sir.
Yes, sir. You are audible. You are a spotlight video now on
Okay,
the
sir.
screen of everybody now.
Okay,
I
sir.
feel that you are on dais.
Yes, sir.
Yes. Sir,
I feel that you are on dais.
Sir, please.
good morning, AIFTP.
Good morning, sir. I can say because all are muted now.
Right. So, respected Honorable Mr. P.C. Joshi, sir, respected all seniors, respected all past presidents available in the participants as participants, respected executive members of all the zones, especially the zone members of South Zone, and especially Mr. Pankaj Ghia. Friends, I'm extremely grateful to Mr. Pankaj Ghia and the Central Zone for giving me this opportunity to share my little knowledge on GST with all the members and participants present over here. All the members are learned people, including my seniors, and they have given me this opportunity to share my thoughts. I'm happy to note that always, whenever I speak, Mr. P.C. Joshi is the chairman of the session. And today also, luckily, P.C. Joshi is the chairman of this webinar also. Sir, pranam, sir.
Thank you, dear.
Yes, sir. So, friends, although Mr. P.C. Joshi, chairman, has already explained in brief what is going to be discussed today, and at my disposal, I am having, with the direction of Mr. Pankaj Ghia, 35 minutes to 40 minutes in order to complete this session. Friends, the topic that has been assigned to me is valuation, aspects of valuation. As Mr. Joshi told, that in every act, the taxpayer has to pay the tax. Now, when the taxpayer is to pay the tax payable by him, in order to know that, he must know the rate at which tax is payable, and he must also know how much is the value on which tax is to be paid. He said, Section 9 provides that every taxpayer will pay tax at the rate prescribed in the Act or through notifications and at a value. And that value is to be determined as per Section 15. So Section 15 is to be dealt with, is to be studied, it is to be discussed among all of us. What is the meaning of that Section 15? What does it say? And how we will calculate the value on which tax is payable. Now, friends, before going to section, I'm just going to explain, I'm just going to take an example. And with that example, I will try to reach to the section, subclause 1 of that Section 15. In fact, in total, we have got 5 subclauses in Section 15. 15.1, 15.2, 15.3. And 15.4 says that if you are not able to calculate or determine the value as per subsection 15.1, then rules will be prescribed and tax value will be calculated accordingly. And subsection 5 says that government will provide the certain goods or services on which tax is to be paid or value is to be determined in a particular manner. So, meaning thereby, the three sub-clauses which are important here are 15.1, 15.2 and 15.3. Now, first we will discuss 15.1, and before I take up 15.1, 1 minute, let me put me on to the PPT. Okay, PPT is visible.
It is legible and it is okay. Please go on, sir.
Okay. So now we are going to discuss subsection 15, subsection 1 of section 15, and it will tell us how to determine the value of a supply. Friends, before I read this subsection 1 or discuss this subsection 1, we will be taking one example. Suppose I want to buy a shirt. I go to the market, enter into a shop and select a piece of shirt which I want to buy, which I like. Friends, I ask the salesman, what is the price of this shirt? He says it is 3,000 rupees. Now, friends, the transaction between me and the supplier or the seller, this instance of buying and selling is called a transaction. And value of this transaction will be called as transaction value. The word transaction has not been defined in the Act or rules. The word transaction has not been defined. Therefore, we will take what is the dictionary meaning of the word transaction. So, dictionary meaning of the transaction is an instance of buying or selling something, right? So, this is a transaction of buying and selling the shirt of 3,000 rupees between me and the supplier. Now, see, let us assume that there is another customer also. He comes, he selects the same shirt, similar type of shirt with the same brand, with the same number, everything same, but he discusses with the salesman and salesman tells him ultimately after discount that he will pay it for 2,700 rupees. So he sold me for 3,000, but he is selling to another customer for 2,700 rupees. Now a third person also comes. He is more expert in bargaining and he discussed with him, okay, sir, 2,700 is too much for me. I cannot pay this much. The other person is paying at a lesser price. So you please pay, give me a discount, further discount, and I will pay only 2,500. Now friends, this third person gets the same shirt in 2,500 rupees. Now the issue is, I am paying 3,000 on which the taxpayer is to pay tax at the rate of 5% or 12%, whatever is the applicable rate. The other person is buying it for 2,700 rupees and the third person is buying at 2,500 rupees. Now the question is, the taxpayer is to pay the tax on 3,000 plus 2,700 plus 2,500, that is 8,200 rupees, or government will tell him, no, you have sold these goods to 3,000 to Mr. A, therefore you have to pay tax at 3,000 rupees for each shirt collected, although you have collected a lesser amount from that. So this is what has been explained in this subclause 1. And it says, no, whatever is the value of that transaction entered into by different persons, on that transaction value only tax is payable by you. Meaning thereby, he will be paying tax on 3,000 plus 2,700 plus 2,500 put together 8,200 multiplied by the rate applicable to that sale of the goods, and he will pay it accordingly. So but there may be a possibility that another customer comes to the same shop and that person says, sir, I'm employee of this organization. Now I want to buy this shirt. And he sells this shirt to him for 2,200 rupees. The shirt was costing 2,000 rupees to the supplier, but now since an employee of his has come to him and he wants to give him a concession, and he is saying 2,200 rupees he will pay for. So now, see the difference. The first three persons were not related to the supplier, but the fourth person is related to the supplier, because in the definition of the related person, as Mr. Joshi sir told you, that definition is given in this section itself, that what are the related persons. So employer and employee are also a related person, although we will read the definition separately, but employer and employee are also the related person. Therefore, the goods sold to him for 2,200 rupees. Now the question is whether the taxpayer has to pay tax on 2,200 rupees or on 3,000 rupees at which he has sold the goods to me. Right? So there are two aspects. One, when the goods are sold, when goods or services are given to a non-related person, and when the goods are sold to a related person. These are the important things. And secondly, now when I have gone to purchase this shirt for 3,000 rupees, I have paid the price in cash or by check or by a draft or by any mode allowed by Reserve Bank of India, which is termed as money. But it may also be possible that if somebody wants to buy something from the other person, then he may pay something in money and something in no other than money. Means barter transaction. Means he says, look, I am selling you this computer. Against this computer, you pay me 20,000 rupees in cash and give me this printer of which he is a manufacturer. Now so he is getting 20,000 plus the printer. It means the whole consideration of the selling of this computer is not in money, but in money plus the non-monetary goods, non-monetary. So if this aspect has also to be seen. So friend, now kindly see. Now I come to subsection 1 of section 15, taking into example and explaining this subclause, because now it will be easier for you to understand. Friends, I know all of you are very learned and experienced tax law professionals. All ladies and gentlemen available and participating in this seminar. These are very small things of this section. The section is so simple. The whole section 15 is so simple, so far as you learned people are concerned. But even then, whenever we have a discussion among us, then we find something new. Let us see what new we are going to find it today. Or at least we will try to understand amongst each other what is written in the law. Read this section as lawyers read. I'm a chartered accountant, I'm not a lawyer, but even then I will try to read it like advocates, like senior persons and all other advocates, and we will read it in a way a lawyer reads. And what does it say? The heading is value of taxable supplies, because we have to pay tax only on a taxable supply. Then he says how you are going to determine the value. And the line says the value of supply of goods or services or both, because this section deals with valuation of goods as well as services, as well as combination of goods and services both. When you will read the rules, be careful while reading the rules of this section that at some places it is written value of goods, services or both, and at some places it is written value of goods or services only. So be careful while reading the section as a lawyer. Now what does it say? the value of a supply of goods or services or both shall be. Word used here in this sentence is shall be, meaning thereby the value has to be determined as per this section only. The words used are shall be. And then he says, shall be the transaction value, comma. Be careful. Shall be the value of a supply, shall be the transaction value, comma. And then he says, what is the transaction value? It has been explained in this section itself. What is transaction value? First, the value will be the transaction value. And what is the transaction value? It says, which is the price actually paid or payable. Be careful. Which is the price actually paid or payable. This word price is not defined in the Act. The word price is not defined in the Act. Therefore, we have to see the dictionary meaning of this. And dictionary meaning of this price says that amount paid, expect paid or payable in terms of money. Be careful. Price is the amount paid or payable in terms of money. And money has been defined in the Act. If you see the definition of money, it says cash, check, bank draft, money order, etc., etc., or any negotiable instrument as permitted by the Reserve Bank of India. It may be in foreign currency, it may be in Indian currency, but price means amount payable in money only. And then he uses the word actually paid or payable. Actually paid or payable, meaning thereby either you have purchased those goods against cash or check, or the amount is payable at a later stage. Means you have purchased or sold those goods on credit basis. So which is the price actually paid or payable. And then see carefully what next is written, for the said supply of goods or services or both. Means this price must be paid towards the supply of goods or services, not for anything else. If the recipient has made the payment not for supply of goods or services, then it will not be the transaction value. For example, suppose some recipient pays you a deposit, refundable deposit, but it is not the price for that supply of goods. So here he says, in order to make it as a transaction value, it has to be price has to be paid for supply of those goods or services or goods. And two more further conditions have been put into it. Those are very important. What he says, next condition is where the supplier and the recipient of the supply are not related to each other. This is important. Supplier and the recipient, meaning thereby the transaction should be such that there is no relationship between the buyer and the supplier. Means, as I told you, I went to a shop which is not related to me. I bought a shirt for 3,000 rupees. Then I'm not related to him, and it applies. This condition applies over here. And secondly, he says, and what is the definition of supplier? Related person. We will see to it in this only. And then he says, this price, that is the money, in terms of money, whatever I have paid or payable, is the sole consideration for the supply. Sole consideration for the supply means the price. Price is the money which is paid. It has to be paid only in terms of money and not in terms of anything other than. Means no barter transaction. Meaning thereby, if the consideration is in money, paid in money, paid or payable in money, number one, and the supplier and buyers are, recipients are not related to each other, then only the value, the transaction value, that is of the 3,000 rupees or 2,700 rupees or 2,500 rupees, as I stated in the example, then this will become the transaction value. And this transaction value is the value of the supply of goods or services on which tax is due. So these are few terms which are used in this: transaction value, price, then for the supply of goods and services, supplier and recipient not related, relation, and then is the sole consideration. Sole consideration should be in terms of money only. If all these conditions are satisfied, then this subsection 1 is satisfied, and the value, the transaction value, which 3,000 rupees I have paid, that will be the value on which tax is payable. The other person has paid 2,700 rupees and all the conditions are applicable, are satisfied. Therefore, 2,700 is the transaction value. And the third person has paid 2,500 rupees because he was more smarter than me. And that 2,500 is also the transaction value. Therefore, this taxable person will pay tax on 3,000 plus 2,700 rupees plus 2,500, put together 8,200 rupees. He will apply the rate of tax and calculate the value of the tax. Government cannot say that for one person you have paid tax on 3,000, for the other, for the same quantity and quality of the goods, you are paying tax on 2,700 rupees, and third person you are paying tax on 2,500 rupees. No, 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 no. Government cannot say that I will charge the tax on 9,000 rupees from you. No, he says, because section says it is the transaction value on which tax is paid. Secondly, all senior members also know that government cannot tell you, the tax authorities cannot tell you how to run a business, whether I have to earn more profit or I'm to earn lesser profit, so long as transaction is genuine. And genuine transaction means normally a businessman does not pay from his pocket. He always tries to earn some margin, unless it is a distress sale. So long as it is more than the margin, there is nothing to doubt about it. And in case of distress sale, it may even go lesser than that, and then also it will be a distress, will be a transaction value. In that situation, queries may be raised at the time of audit assessment by the tax authorities, which you are to answer favorably. So those are the things. When these will put to the audit assessment, then all these our senior members who are participating in this will be able to help us, will be able to get our cases cleared from the clutches of the tax authorities, taking into consideration that government cannot tell a taxpayer how to run a business and how to find out how to calculate the transaction value. But so far as section is concerned, it tells you how to determine the transaction value. Meaning thereby, this section goes to work only if two conditions are satisfied. Number one, the buyer and seller are not related to each other, number one. And number two, the price paid is the sole consideration. Meaning thereby, if these conditions are not satisfied, then this subclause 1 will not apply. And then subclause 4 will apply. And subclause 4 says that if you are not able to determine the value of transaction as per subclause 1, then the government will provide and prescribe the rules as to how to calculate that. And here, if the transaction, as I told you, the employee of the person goes to the supplier and buy the shirt for 2,200 rupees, in that situation, this subclause will not apply. Means that 2,200 will not be the transaction value in this case, because that person was related to each other. Now, this is the related person definition. I'm not going to read it because time will not permit me. But one is third number, such persons are employer and employee. It is written. So as I told you, that person was the employee. Since he was an employee, so he is a related person. Since he is a related person, subclause 1 will not apply. And rules will apply. And rules are 27 and 28. 28 rule relates to related persons. If time will permit, then I will discuss the rule. If there will be a barrier from Mr. Pankaj Ghia, then I will not be able to discuss. However, in this PPT, all the rules have been given, and members are free to read all those rules, because the rules are, as chairman said, told 27 to 35. That is 9 rules plus rule 31A and 32A. In total, 11 rules. And if we are going to discuss those rules, it will take another 2 hours time. And this, therefore, it will be at some other time whenever we'll be available after COVID-19. Anyhow, So today we are only going to discuss the section 15 and only 2 rules if time will permit us. Then he says, Section 15.2, what does it say? As you are aware that, as respected Joshi sir said, that this GST is mixture of Excise Act, Custom Act, Service Tax Act, Sale Tax Act, and VAT Act. All put together have been mixed in this GST Act. So, what government has tried to do in this subclause 2, it is telling that in order to determine the value, you are to include certain items into it. And those items are those on which there was a debate, on which those were debatable issues which have gone to the courts, Supreme Court and High Court, and ultimately those were decided. Government wanted to make it as good and simple tax. Therefore, they wanted to discuss and put it into the act itself so that there is no confusion in the minds of the taxpayer, and they are able to calculate the value in a proper manner. What are those 5 items on which there were disputes, and they have been included over here specifically so to make the things clear to all the taxpayers. Number 1, he says, this value of supply shall include any taxes, duties, cess, fees, and charges. Friends, you are aware that there are certain acts which has not been abolished, which have not been subsumed, such as custom duty. It has not been subsumed, it has not been mixed in GST. Similarly, on petroleum products, still VAT is applicable. Now he says that if any tax duty has been levied on that item other than GST, then that tax duty or cess is to be included in order to find out the value. Simple example is, as you are aware that when we import the goods, at the time of import, we need to pay custom duty on that. And when we pay the custom duty, you also know that on import of goods, IGST is also paid. So, custom duty is payable. And after custom duty, you also know that IGST is payable. So here he says that in order to calculate how much GST will be payable, first you have to include the custom duty paid on this in the value of the price of the goods, and then put together, and then you are to charge the IGST on that. So this is one example. There may be other examples also, such as petroleum, etc. Petroleum products when we buy, and then we use them in outward supply by making something on that. So whatever VAT etc. is paid on that, that will be added before so for the purpose of calculation of the value in order to decide what GST is payable on that. So any tax, duty or cess is includable in this. Next is any amount that the supplier is liable to pay. Any amount that the supplier is liable to pay. There is some liability of the supplier. He is to pay certain expenses, but he tells the buyer, recipient, to pay directly to him. So question is, something which has been paid directly, which was not liability of the recipient, whether it was liability of this supplier, whether that amount can be removed from the value of the supply, or it is to be included into the value of the supply. For example, suppose I sell certain goods to Mr. Joshi in Maharashtra from Delhi. In order to sell those products, I do not know Mr. Joshi, and I find a selling agent in Maharashtra. That selling agent tells me, sir, there is an order from Mr. You supply an advance of 25,000 rupees, out of which you pay 5,000 commission to this selling agent, or to whom I have to pay, and the balance 20,000 to me as advance, and the balance payment when I will supply to you. Now that person has, Mr. P.C. Joshi paid 5,000 rupees to the selling agent on my behalf. Now the question is whether value of supply will be, suppose value of the goods is 1 lakh. So question is whether value of supply is 1 lakh or minus 5,000, that is 95. So he says that if any payment is made by the recipient for on behalf of the principal to the supplier to any other person, then that value is to be included. That cannot be excluded. You cannot say that since that person is paying me only 95,000 rupees, therefore GST will be applicable on 95,000. Then friends, there are certain incidental expenses which the supplier incurs before delivery of goods or supply of services. This was a matter of dispute, and these were debated: packing expenses, transportation expenses, etc., etc. These were debated under VAT laws, and it reached to High Courts and Supreme Court, where it was decided that all of them should be added to the value before determination of VAT on that. So this section, this subclause, this point number C says that all incidental expenses like home delivery charges by restaurant, this whatever blue is written, it is written by me just to explain it to you, or just for my convenience to read it for you to explain the things. Like home delivery charges by restaurants. Suppose you order to a restaurant, send the goods to him, send food to him. Food is value 1,000 rupees, and he says the home delivery charges will be 50 rupees. Then he says the law says that value of goods or services will be 1,000 plus 50 rupees, and then put together you include these home delivery charges and pay tax on 1,000 plus 50 rupees, 1,050, and then GST will be charged. Similarly, extra bed charges by the hotel. These are only examples just to explain it to you. Then he says packing and transportation. Suppose you say, these goods should be delivered to my house. He says transportation charges will be this much and value of goods will be this much. So it's not that you have to pay GST only on value of goods, but those transportation charges will also be added because these are incurred by you at the time of supply. Then similarly, transportation charges, packing. You say make a gift packing, and in that gift packing, he said the law says that gift packing charges or other packing charges will be included because these are incidental expenses. So these are examples of incidental expenses which are to be included. Now next is interest or late fee. I have to be a little faster because then I will get a signal from Mr. Pankaj Ghia. So I have to be a little bit faster also. Interest or late fee or penalty. Friends, you are always aware that whenever we supply the goods to somebody on credit, we fix the terms. That either you pay the cash or you pay it within 7 days. If you will not pay it within 7 days, then I will charge you interest at the rate of 24%. Now, question is whether this amount of interest or any late fee or any liquidated damages or penalty, etc., which I will levy on to the customer of maybe at a later date, because supply has been made today. Suppose price is 1 lakh. This 1 lakh is not received immediately, or the terms were that within 7 days it will be paid. If it is not paid within 7 days, then I will be charging interest on that. The question is whether this interest will be added to the value of the supply. Yes. Answer is, it is written in the act itself that interest or fee, late fee or penalty, whatever is charged from the customer, it will be added to the value of the supply. But value of supply bill has already been raised. That tax has already been collected. It is paid already. Therefore, in this case, it is said that time of supply will be when that interest penalty fee will be received under section 12.6 and 13.6 for services and 12.6 is for goods. You can refer that section, but law is that interest or late fee or penalty has to be added. Then last item is subsidies. In inclusion, there are total 5 items. And out of those 5 items, this subsidy is the 5th. And it says that if you have received this subsidy from a private person, not from central government or state government, if received from central or state government, it should not be added into the value of the supply. But if it is received from a private person, then it has to be added in the value of the supply before that for the purpose of calculation of GST. So we want to know, are there any cases in which we are receiving subsidy from a private person? Yes. I should give you a very simple example. Suppose there is a cafeteria which is supplying food to the employees of a company. Now, he is supplying food at the rate of rupees 120 per plate. But the employer pays him 70 rupees separately for this plate. So in fact, he is getting 190 rupees. But he is getting from the customer, from the employee, only 120 rupees. Question is whether tax is payable on 120 rupees or 190 rupees. Because it may be possible that the taxpayer collects 70 rupees from the employer and put it in miscellaneous income, or put it anywhere where it is not visible. Then question is whether it will be a part of supply. Yes, it will be included into the supply. 120 plus 70, 90, 190 rupees. And it is advisable, we must have the knowledge that it is to be added, and it must be added right now whenever supply is made. Because if it is detected later on in the audit assessment or by the tax auditor at the time of doing tax audit at the close of the year or after 1.5 years, at that point of time, you have to pay tax, not only tax, you have to pay interest also. And sometimes in audit assessment by the tax authorities, you may have to pay the penalties also. Therefore, we should, all of us should know all these 5 items in detail, which are to be included for making the supplies, so that correct tax is calculated. So it is important for those who are doing the compliance work, as well as it is important for those who are doing the litigation work, because ultimately the cases will come to them if these items are not included in the value of the supply. Then friends, now is the time for exclusion. Question is, till now we have explained what is to be added, but is there anything which can be excluded also? He says yes. As I told you that when I went to buy that shirt, I bought it for 3,000 rupees. But the other person who came to the shop, he bought it in 2,700 rupees. Therefore, when the supplier will make a bill for him, he will write price of the shirt 3,000, less discount 300, total 2,700 rupees. Now, the question is whether GST is payable on 2,700 rupees or GST is payable is on 3,000 rupees. So the law provides that if the discount is given in the bill itself, that discount can be reduced from the price and the GST will be payable on the remaining item also. Meaning thereby this is called in-bill discount. Means discount is appearing in the face of the invoice itself. So he says 2 items can be excluded, although both are discount. First is discount in the invoice. The value of supply shall not include any discount which is given before or at the time of supply, if such discount has been duly recorded in the invoice issued in respect of such supply. And second is that after you have effected the supply, can any discount be given? And can GST adjustment can be made to it? The answer is yes, but with strict conditions. There are 2 conditions have been fixed. And those conditions are that if you are giving any discount to a person, then this discount can be reduced from the price only and only if, number 1, because you know that this is a business, this is a trade practice, that the trade gives discount to its customer, which are although known at the time of making of the supply, but those are given at a later date, such as turnover discount, volume discount, etc., or cash discounts, etc., etc. But he says, yes, you will get the benefit of these discounts. Your tax liability may be reduced at a later date, but 2 conditions should be satisfied. First condition is that at the time of sale, it must be known between the customer and the supplier.
Sir, last 5 minutes, sir.
Okay, sir. That this discount will be allowed to me. If it is known, how it will be known to you? It can be known only and only if there is a prior agreement between buyer and the supplier. So you have to make an agreement between the buyer and supplier. Normally those taxpayers who pay such type of discount, they normally make the agreement This agreement can be in writing. This agreement may be in oral also. Can it be said? So there are in VAT and sales tax, there were many judgments that agreement can be in writing. It can be oral also. And all these things our learned senior persons like P.C. Joshi may be able to explain that certain agreements can be in writing, certain agreements can be in oral also. But if you are able to prove that this agreement was there, then benefit can be taken by you for any discount given at a later stage. But if you cannot prove it with the help of documents that any agreement was there, then that discount will not be allowed to reduce the value of the supply and to reduce your output tax liability. Therefore, we must be careful that the agreement should be placed in writing preferably. Then he says, but another condition is also, because when you are reducing the price and you are reducing your output liability, meaning thereby this should affect the buyer also. Because had you given this at that point of time at the time of sale, this discount was given, then at that point of time, the other person must have got lesser ITC. But now, since you are giving at a later stage, the other person has already claimed the higher ITC at that point of time. Therefore, how he says, law says that that person should reduce and he should reverse that ITC. So if you are reducing your output liability, the other person should reduce the liability. And secondly, he says that this should be specifically linked to the relevant invoices. So this discount given must relate to the invoices, meaning thereby whatever credit note you are going to issue in future, for that credit note, the relevant invoices has to be mentioned. So, but if there are many invoices, then how you will do it? All the invoices are to be written. Each credit note is to be issued for each invoice, or for all the invoices put together, can you issue one credit note? Originally, this facility was not available, but now I think in law has also provided, and on portal also we get this facility that one discount can be given for many invoices through one credit note also, and it will be able to do it. Compliance people can tell you how it is available. Now, friends, so Pankaj, only 5 minutes more, please. If
sir, as fast as possible, sir. Yes.
Yes, sir. Sure, sir. Now, the question is, there are different type of discounts. I'm not going to discuss cash discount, quantity discount, special discount, discount in kind, free, buy one, take two, nominal value of supplies, liquidated damages. So friends, I'm not going to discuss this. All are written over here and you must take use of it. And there are there is one circular also on this, circular number 92 of 7th March 19, I think. The members who are interested, they should read those and they will come to know how those discounts are, whether allowed, not allowed, etc., etc. Then fourth, prescribed manner, he says rules will be prescribed is subsection 1. If you are not able to determine the value as per subsection 1, then the rules will be prescribed. And when it is not available, subsection 1, when the persons are related and the supply is not in terms of money only. And if those two conditions are not fulfilled, then 1 is not applicable and then we need to go to the rules. Supplies as may be notified, nothing has been notified so far. Now there are 11 rules. I'm not going to discuss all the 11 rules. These are given in the PPT itself and you can read the book also. But only 2 which are important and for which are mentioned in subclause 1 also. And it says if the supply is made to related persons, then what will happen? And if the value of supply, if the price paid is not only in money, but money plus non-money also, then what will happen? So this rule number 27 is for price and the rule number 28 is in respect of the related person. We will discuss only 2 in brief and 2 are almost similar to each. Therefore, when if you are able to explain one, the other gets automatically explained. What does it say? In fact, these are rules of valuation. We must know what is the meaning of the word valuation. Pankaj Ghia sir given the topic aspects of valuation. To explain value of supply. Very smartly he put the aspects of valuation. So I thought, what is the meaning of the word valuation? So valuation, rules for valuation. Friends, valuation means that you are to add or reduce or rectify the two conditions which are not available in subsection 1. You now add or adjust the price in such a way so as to get the value as per subsection 1. So this is what is written in the rules. And what it says, number 1, if he says that if the price paid or payable is not in money, means it can be a part of it is in money, part is non-money, or it may be wholly in non-money, or it can be wholly in money. If in money, subclause 1 apply. If part is in money and part is non-money, then that will not apply, and this rule will apply. And what does this rule says? He says that the value of supply shall be the open market value of such supply. Be careful. What used is, be careful. What used is the open market value of such supply. Means if I purchase that shirt, then open market value of that shirt only. Now kindly see, that value of that shirt is 3,000. But now leave that example. There are 2 examples which are given in the rule itself, and then those rules are self-explanatory. What does it say? Suppose I have sold you something. I have sold you a computer. I have sold you a mobile phone, against which I have received an old mobile phone. And suppose the price is 10,000 rupees plus the old mobile phone. But I sell the same quality of mobile phone, same brand, and the price available is 15,000. Meaning thereby, if I was otherwise selling, it was sold in cash for 15,000. Now, since I have sold it for 10,000 plus a 5,000 of old phone I have received from the other person, the value is not known that it is 5,000 because that is an old phone. Nobody knows how much is the value. But the new phone I'm selling for 15,000. It means the value, the price that I should charge for supply of the other phone against which I have received the phone will become 15,000 rupees. Meaning that my old phone value will become 5,000 and total will be.
Sir, last 2 minutes, sir. We are
yes, sir.
Running
yes, sir. Bas khatam karne wala hu, sir. So the section says it will be the value of supply shall be the open market value of such supply. So open market value means that 15,000 that phone is the open market value. It should not be misunderstood with the transaction value. It is open market value. ये नहीं कि 15,000 का वो फोन था और किसी ने बार्गेन किया कि 12,000 में दे दो, तो 12,000 will not be the open market value. Open market value in this case will remain the 15,000. Second, he says if open market value is not available, then what will happen? Then he says if open market value, be careful. This taxpayer has to prove on record that open market value is not available. Then only he can go to this. Adopt serially. Option is not available, then third option. If third option is not available, then this fourth option. So it has to go seriously, serially. The second is if open market value is not available, then sum total of the consideration is money, and any sum further amount in money as equivalent to consideration not in money. So there is an example given for this also. You can use that also. And the third is open market value has been explained in the explanation. The value, and if the value is not determined in A and B, then he says value of supply of like goods and services. This is very difficult to know. How you will determine value of supply of like kind and quality? So you have to compare. Yeah, this is just like transfer pricing, and lot of disputes are there in case of transfer pricing. You are aware, and friends, we are litigating all of them. Similarly, litigation will come on these issues also in future, where we will be taking help from Mr. P.C. Joshi and Mr. Pankaj Ghia in order to explain all this. And lastly, he says that if 1, 2, 3 are not available, then Rule 30 and 31 will be available. And Rule 30 says cost plus 10%. You find out the cost, add 10% into it, and then do it. And if he says, if all the 4 methods are not available, then Rule 31 will apply. What is that Rule 31? Rule 31 says that you find out a suitable method, any reasonable method to value the supply, but within the principle given in section 15. So these are all. This completes the, and then only 1 minute more I will be taking. That is in respect of supply of goods which are sold to related persons. Now, when it is sold to related person, the first subclause is the same, the open market value of such supply. As I told, my shirt for 2,200. I have bought it for 3,000. So question is whether tax from 2,200 or that shirt also he is to pay for 3,000. Law says open market value of such.
Sir,
Open market
we have to close, sir.
Yes,
we
sir.
have to close.
Closing in.
We have to close.
Yes, yes. This is the last, sir. So open market value, that the supply, the tax has to be paid on 3. So similarly, friends, now you are aware that related party means our own branches are also related parties. Our own branches are the related parties. Therefore, and you are all aware that head office is rendering services to the branches also. The employees, managing director salary, all other expenses incurred at head office for the purpose of branches in order to supervise and in order to manage those branches expenses. And those expenses, friends, are to be shared with the, are to be debited to the respective branches. Invoices have to be made to the respective branches. But the question is at what value? And those, how to value that, it is written. And one method that was written is that since the other party is getting, if the other party is getting full credit of ITC, then the figure which is mentioned in the invoice, that will be the price available. So, but we have to be very sure that should not be a nominal value. That has to be seen from the section 15 itself. It is to be governed by section. So friends, these are the issues which are going to be litigated very much, as you are know that in case of Columbia Asia Hospitality, that case is already gone to AAR, and which AAR said that yes, tax is payable on the cross charges, tax will be payable. So friends, although chapter is very long, looks to be only one section, section number 15. Chapter is long. It will take another 2 hours, but with the direction of our controller, Mr. Pankaj Ghia, we are closing the chapter for the comments, for his comments, for comments of respected PC Joshi sir. Thank you, friends. Once again, thanks to the organizers, especially to Mr. Pankaj Ghia. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. I have a very bad task. I have a very bad task of controlling everything, and you know, controlling this type of excellent session from a wizard like HL Madan is very difficult. I have to bear the brickbats of everybody. And if you see the chat box, everybody is asking that let Mr. Madan continue. But friends, I have a limitation, and I have a limitation and a rule to follow.
Thank you.
And with that, it was a wonderful session, sir. But before giving you more congratulations, let us hear our chairman, Shri PC Joshi sir, for a quick his concluding remarks as chairman. Shri PC Joshi sir.
Thank you, Pankaj. Thank you, Pankaj.
Sir, before you start, one more thing. Friends, if you want PPT, the PPT has been shared in the chat box. PPT has been shared in the groups. Please subscribe to our webinar groups. We request you to subscribe and like our YouTube channel, AFTP CZ YouTube channel, so that you can get all the video recordings. We will be circulating the video recording of today's webinar also on the YouTube. Please subscribe to the YouTube link, and we had shared the YouTube link in the chat box. You can copy it, and I would request my secretary, AFTP Zone Secretary Sandeep Agarwal, to again share the webinar group link on WhatsApp and the YouTube link on the chat, in the chat box. With this, sir, again a very good information that we had crossed 700 delegates in today's webinar. And with this, sir, I would request now Chairman sir for his remarks.
Thank you, Pankaj. I must say at the outset that Mr. Madan has exhaustively taken time only for one section. That shows how simple. And when the Prime Minister introduced GST, he said good and simple tax. Though how simplicity is achieved, all of you know. Now, coming to my comments, there are only a few comments which I would like to make, though he has taken up very exhaustively. Read section 15.1. Section 15.1 is a mandatory provision. It's a mandatory provision because it refers to shall. And always when you meet a shall, it is always the mandatory provision. Now, if you say that the amount of value paid or payable for supply, therefore the value payable or supply, but this is contrary to the definition of the term consideration. If you see consideration definition 231, it also refers to the supply, the amount payable, whether money or otherwise. So our submission should be that the provision and means, because the definition has to be considered in the context, and the context otherwise require that it shall be only money and money only. Now take this also in relation to Rule 27. Rule 27 expressly provides contrary to what the mandatory provision provides, because it says where the consideration is not in money. Rule 27 is consideration of money, not in money. Now, it's a well laid down principle of law that when there is a conflict between the section, the provision, and the rule, section prevails and not the rule. And therefore, according to me, Rule 27 is ultra vires the provisions of Section 15. Then next item, next aspect which I would like to comment upon is regarding inclusion of taxes. Now, inclusion of taxes, according to me, also is beyond the competence of Parliament. Because what has been authorized by the provisions of the Constitution is to levy tax on supply of service or supply of goods. Nothing more than that. Therefore, they have no power of levying tax on tax. It amounts to a double taxation. In one, under one entry, you are levying tax, another entry, you are levying tax on tax. According to me, is beyond the power of the Parliament as far as this is concerned. Then, as far as the what the amount is payable by supplier. Now, this will be depending on the individual contract, whether it is FOB contract or FOR contract or ex-factory contract. It all depends, and therefore you will have to be very, very careful while drafting an inter se contract between the supplier and the recipient. Because then the provisions of Hindustan Sugar Mills judgment will Supreme Court will apply. What is liability of the payment of freight? Whose liability it is? Whether it is the buyers or it is sellers. Then the interest. Now, interest subclause D is, according to me, in conflict with subsection 1. Because subsection 1 says value actually paid or payable for the supply. The supply is over. Now, this is a post-supply position of an aspect which cannot form part of the value. Now, as far as the discount is concerned, he has rightly stated that it should be predetermined to the recipient also. That should be known to the recipient. Now, in this case, it can be through a standard scheme, what we call discount scheme, mentioning that if you annually have a turnover more than a specified turnover, then you will get a discount, additional discount at the end of the year. That also, according to me, is allowable. This
Sir,
friends,
can we take queries now?
pardon?
Sir, can we take queries directly now?
A query is to be replied by the Mr. Madan.
No, and to be supplemented by you, sir.
Okay. Agreed.
Okay,
Okay.
sir.
Then put me the query first.
So I would be taking the queries directly now. Madan sir, your mic, please open your mic.
Yeah, that's correct.
Madan sir, okay, I would be doing it. Sir, I had opened your mic. Can you speak, sir?
Mr. Madan.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Pankaj,
Now
Pankaj,
I would be taking. I would be taking.
Pankaj Ghia, sir, you are not only the controller, you are also to reply the query.
Yeah, I'm also under the control of Mr.
You are not only the controller.
Sir. Okay, I would be taking the queries. We have to answer very sharp, very crisp, and very fast, sir. And I would request all the queries also to be directly on the point. We are already crossing the time limits, and we don't have time.
Okay.
The first one is Mr. Nishit Babaria. Nishit Babaria, are you there? Okay, Mr. Sankalp Pitalia.
Some query is some departments provide cement to the contractors and they have to use that cement in providing the supply of works contract. So my question is whether the value of the cement provided by the department will be included in the supply value of the contractor also?
Madan sir.
Yes, sir. Sir, the point is it will depend upon terms of the contract. The terms of contract provides that this cement was to be provided by him.
Yes, sir.
Then
Okay.
chapter is closed. But if it is not provided that cement was to be provided, and my contract value, because if he was not to provide, then my contract value includes the value of the cement also. And if he has provided, then I have to charge tax on the full value, and the other person who is providing the cement to me, he will put a debit to me or he will issue an invoice to me. I will get ITC.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Satnarayan Chechani.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
My question to Madan sir is this. सर आपने बताया कि जो इंटरेस्ट और पेनल्टी जो पोस्ट सेल जो पोस्ट सप्लाई जो लेवी की जाती है उसमें आपने बताया कि उसमें टैक्स लगेगा, तो उसमें ऑप्शन क्या है? रिसीप्ट ऑन द रिसीप्ट ऑफ दैट इंटरेस्ट और पेनल्टी और क्रेडिट ऑफ दैट इंटरेस्ट?
Yes, sir. Please read section 12.6 and 13.6. Your query will be answered. And since interest will be received later on, and tax is to be paid only on receipt of the interest, fee or charges.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Mr. Narendra Mittal.
Yes, sir. Good morning, everyone. So my query is that one company is selling branded goods through different retail outlets spread all over India, and they have a policy of giving, say, 25% discount to the employees. Whatever employees buy, they get 25% discount. So what will be the transaction value according to that rules for this transaction?
Sir, please repeat the query, please.
Sir, the retail trading chain have made a policy of giving 25% discount to the employees.
Employee, that means it is a related person.
Yeah. So what will be the transaction value or value on which tax will be levied on this kind of transaction, where regularly employees buy at a 25% discount? That is the policy of the company to give 25% discount to the employees.
Sure. So since as I explained earlier also, that if the transaction is between employer and the employee and any discount is allowed, that discount cannot be allowed. The tax has to be paid on the open market value.
Correct.
Mr. Fasluddin from Kerala.
No doubt.
Narendra is a very senior chartered accountant from Jaipur, sir.
Sir, Madan sir, I would
Sir,
like to hear
sir,
from you.
Sir, senior to Mr. Joshi.
Not senior to Mr. Joshi, sir.
No, senior has to ask from Mr. Joshi only.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Yes,
Sir,
sir.
Faslu Singh ji.
सर कहाँ से मतलब मदन सर रिप्लाई करेगा?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
बोलिए ना sir.
Okay, sir. I would like to hear your views on price quoted in e-way bill and the value as per invoices. Sir, आपका बारे में क्या कुछ फर्क है तो क्या इसमें आपका व्यूज क्या है सर?
सर एक पंकज जी जरा क्वेरी एक्सप्लेन कर दीजिए.
Sir, he is asking about the difference in the value of invoice and the e-way bill value.
Oh, sorry, English.
Value of invoice and e-way bill.
Yes.
E-way bill. Price quoted in e-way bill and value as per invoices.
There is a difference in the value quoted in e-way bill and the value of invoice.
Invoice, sir.
Actual value.
Which one is
Actual
more?
value.
Actual
Yeah.
value.
I think the department would go with the first view of Mr. Madan. Which one is more? Mr. Ravi Shankar AV.
Okay, sir.
Mr. Ravi Shankar AV.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes,
Go
sir.
on. Go on, please.
Case of some companies, they supply the product and they give credit notes, which are of two types. In one credit note, tax is also involved. In some other credit notes, tax is not involved. So when I am passing the entry, is it right that only the credit notes with the taxes, I'll have to reverse the ITP? And what about the other credit notes which are issued by the party in which tax element is not there in the credit note? So what is the treatment that I should make in my books of accounts?
Sir, actually his voice was echoing.
Sir, the query is that there are two type of credit notes are issued by the company.
Yes.
One is with the tax,
Okay.
wherein the tax is reversed. The second is without the tax effect.
Right.
That,
Financial credit note.
that is financial credit notes like turnover discount or the
Yes.
volume discounts and all.
Yes.
So
Yes.
he says what would be the treatment and what can be done.
In the books of accounts.
Since it is not affecting credit, since it is not affecting GST, therefore it has only directly to be debited to the party and reduced and put it to the income.
Sir, I may add one thing.
Yes.
There are litigations going on this issue.
Correct.
Notices are issued wherein the department is taking a view that in cases where there are turnover discount or the volume discount, it is a service by the distributor to the manufacturing company, and they
Right.
are issuing to all distributors, and that would be a big conflict in the coming times. So that is a controversial issue, and let's see what would
I think some circular was also issued by the department which has been withdrawn later on.
Yes, it was in March, circular was issued. In June, it was again reissued and clarified. And in October, it has been withdrawn.
So please tell
Because
to my
you may
friend.
just check up, there is a Supreme Court judgment as far as these type of discounts are.
Sir, that all these judgments are for the pre-GST era. And
No. Maybe, but the principle will apply.
okay, now Rasik Chauhan.
Good morning, sir. I am a transporter. An agreement with the company. The rate it quoted is excluding diesel cart. Company provide the diesel. To whether when we pay the tax under the forward charge, whether the diesel cost included for the payment or not. Whether the department may take a view it is not a transportation and it is a higher charges. Please clarify, sir.
पंकज जी आप बताइए.
In my view,
query भी एक बार फिर से बोल दीजिएगा तीनों लोगों.
see, the query is that he has a contract, and in that case,
Transporter, sir. I am a transporter.
he has a contract. He is a transporter, and he is getting diesel free of cost from the person who
Company.
is awarded the contract, the company. Now
Yeah.
he said whether it would be a transportation contract or a hire contract, and whether the tax would be leviable on the diesel amount or not.
What department is saying?
No, sir. In case
He is lucky. He has not received any notice.
any notice, yeah.
Okay. Yes, sir. What is your view, sir?
My view is very clear, sir. If the value, if the contract mentioned, because what you had mentioned 2-3 queries back, if the contract mentioned that the diesel would be supplied free of cost in the contract, then the diesel would be added in the transactional value. If the contract is silent, in that case, I think you can take the other view and you can take only the tax can be levied only on the value on which you are billing.
No, the supply is the service of transportation, and therefore service of transportation is for the amount paid by the person who is hiring the truck, and therefore the value of diesel cannot be added.
Sir, your view now, Madan Saab.
Yeah. Thank you.
सर इसमें एक OEM के रिलेटेड एक वो था सर्कुलर नंबर 92 है, तो मेरा ख्याल से if the member read that and put the query again on WhatsApp or on email, it can be better replied, because query is good. We do not want to answer straight away just to say no further query.
So, who is it? Mr. Rasik.
Okay, sir.
You have sent a googly to the 3 experts and, and nobody is able to answer it. So we will discuss and come back to you very shortly.
Before that,
Sir, it is the practical question.
Yes, you are right. No, before that, you please read that circular number 92 also.
Yeah.
92 relating to
Mukesh
OEM.
Jain. Mukesh Jain. Mr. Mukesh Jain, are you there?
हाँ, yes sir.
Yes sir, बोलिए.
सर मेरा क्वेरी बस इतनी सी है कि रिवर्स चार्ज जो है मंडी टैक्स पे लग गया है, और मंडी टैक्स जो हम रिवर्स चार्ज पर दे रहे हैं वो किसान के बिहाफ पर दे रहे हैं, तो क्या उसको वैल्यूएशन में ऐड करना पड़ेगा?
रिवर्स चार्ज
Madan Saab, are you answering it?
Monday tax? No.
Can I repeat?
Madan, nahi, the query is clear, Mukesh ji. Madan Saab, you have to answer it. Hello. There are some confusions. Let me answer it on behalf of Mr. Madan.
Subclause जो inclusion का, yes, please, बोलिए ना.
Madan Saab, are you hearing it? Let me answer it. It doesn't matter.
Yes, getting.
Yeah.
बोलिए. हाँ, बोलिए.
Go on answering the query, yes, sir. Go on answering, sir.
No, please answer better.
Okay. My view is very clear. You have to pay the tax. You are paying the tax in the RCM basis. The question of valuation would not come because it is a RCM levy. As far as the purchases from the agriculturists are concerned, you will take it on the actual basis, and RCM, it is a statutory liability, and you will have to pay mandi tax on the actuals. So there is no question of valuation involved in it.
Because section 15 also will not apply.
Yes. Mr. Navneet Arora.
Yeah, thank you, sir. Sir, my question is relating to petrol pumps. We receive 2 types of commissions from the companies, which is built in the rates of rate of the petrol or diesel, and another is the tax target commissions. That target commission or the minimum guarantee is taxable under GST or not?
Petrol very.
Madan Saab.
Sir, query बोलिए sir दोबारा से.
Sir, he is receiving 2 types of commission from the petroleum companies. He is a petrol pump owner.
Okay.
So whether those commissions are taxable under GST or not?
Commission.
Is he raising invoice for those commissions?
Yes, sir. But they are not charging any GST.
In my view, commission is commission, whether it is relating to from a petroleum commission from anybody else. In my view, apparently at the face of it, it appears that GST will be applicable.
Sorry, sir. GST
will be applicable because commission is commission, whether received from a petroleum or from any other person.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
now I would be opening the mic for Mr. Rajesh BL. Rajesh BL.
Yeah, I am here. Thank you, sir.
Yes.
Sir, my question regarding the related parties valuation. As per your example, regarding the sub sale, you told that three values. There is 3,000, 2,700, and 2,500. Which value will be taken for the sale to the employee?
According to me, 3,000, because that is the open market value.
Oh, that is the open market value.
2,700 is the transaction value. 2,500 is also the transaction value, but 3,000 is the open market value. So it has to be taken at 3,000 according to me.
Mr. Avinash Kedia.
Sir,
Mr. Avinash Kedia.
so my queries is that, sir, whenever we send some goods in transporting or through vehicles, goods have been detained by the officials. For silly mistake, they impose penalty and in a tax and penalty. In this case, tax has not been reimbursed in GST, but in VAT, it was VAT in VAT regime, the tax was given to the party. So my suggestion that why should not this tax should be given to the party who was paying for that for this silly mistake and not penalty, it may be taken into consideration. This suggestion may kindly be given to the council also. In this way they are harassing a lot.
Okay, we will note the suggestion and give it. Thank you. Friends, I may add one thing. From tomorrow and from today, we had been at 9:45 a.m. So please join us tomorrow again at 9:45 a.m. It would be a pleasure listening to you. Please join our webinar groups. Please join our YouTube channel and subscribe to the YouTube channel, because in that we can start the live streaming also. And I would be taking two last queries. One is from Mr. Kaustav Chaudhary. Mr. Kaustav Chaudhary, are you there? Mr. Kaustav Chaudhary is not here, so we will be skipping Mr. Mulchand Jain. Mr. Mulchand Jain, he is not there. Mr. Ramanna Rao.
मेरा नाम कहाँ से आ गया?
Mr. Ramanna Rao. Okay. Then one is Meena's iPhone. Are you there, Meena's iPhone?
Yeah, hi.
Yes.
Good morning to all.
Good morning.
Yeah, my question is that I have a client who is dealing in courier and cargo services. We are giving services to India as well as an international platform. We are hiring some same service providers in international platform also. So we are dealing like in a kind of in barter services. We are giving like for say if a company registered in US and they want to deliver some goods in India, so we provide courier services in India to them. And if we do some courier services in US, so we will take services of those companies. So that's why we are doing a kind of a barter system. So is that these kind of transactions fall under the purview of consideration and the value of transactions?
Consideration includes both, whether consideration is received in money or it is received in non-money consideration also. Those are called barter transaction, and barter transactions are covered in the definition of supply and business also. Therefore, in my view, it will be covered.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Thank you. One Pradosh Patnaik is there. Pradosh, I had unmuted you.
Yes, sir. So my question is, what will be the value of supply in case of sale of residential flat where actual consideration received is less than the benchmark value of registration?
Please repeat.
So what will be the value of supply in case of sale of residential flat where the actual consideration received is less than the benchmark value set for registration of that property?
In my opinion, so far as GST is concerned, the transaction value will be covered.
The actual consideration value?
Yes. So far as GST is concerned. That value which you are talking, that may be for income tax purpose, for purpose of.
No, that is for Stamp Act.
Yes, yes, yes. That is for calculating capital gain tax and income tax. But so far as in GST, only in my view, only the transaction.
Consideration paid, actually, consideration paid.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Pradoji, I
Okay,
concur,
sir.
but you will have to take care of the income tax provisions. A variation of more than 10% is not allowable.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
So you have to take care of those and then the stamp duty. And then it would be an open case of litigation. So
Yes,
please.
sir.
Fit
So,
for
Thank you, sir.
Pankaj Ghia.
But that is in
Amit
our
Gupta from Jammu. Amit Gupta from Jammu.
Good morning, sir. My question is that one of my client is a service provider to HDFC Bank. He is a recovery agent for credit card recovery. Whenever he is raising bill, the HDFC Bank is not charging any GST on that. What is the correct view, sir?
the service.
Yes, sir. Sir, he is raising the invoice, but HDFC Bank is asking him not to charge GST.
Because it is under RCM.
No,
I think you check the provisions of RCM. Recovery agents are under RCM. Please
Yes,
check.
yes. There was some amendment. There was some amendment in rules, and this came. Yes.
Yes.
So in the GST return, he has to file showing the value with the RCM.
No, first of all, he must settle with the bank. Why he should not? But it is under RCM. Then bank people will pay GST. He has not to add.
But in his return, what he has to show?
He has to mention it under the RCM category.
He has to issue invoice, self invoice.
One iPhone is there. I don't know the name. iPhone. One Mr. iPhone. I had unlocked you. Are you able to hear me? Okay. So one is Mr. Satish Shukla. Satish
Hello.
Shukla, are you there? Yes.
Ji, sir. Sir, good morning, sir.
Yes.
Sir, my query is with respect to credit note or any incentive received by the distributor. I could not hear that time. So actually, I want to know what is the GST liability on the credit note or any kind of incentive received by the distributor from the manufacturer.
Satish ji, that query was answered by me, and the answer was that if in case you had received any credit notes, and
Yes.
particularly notice are issued to LG, Samsung and all electronic companies, in
Yes.
such cases where turnover discount or volume discount without GST has been issued by the parent company, in that case the department is taking a view that it is a service provided by the distributor to the company, and they had issued notices for levy of tax at the rate of 18% under GST. Now it is a conflict of issue of circulars and revocation of them. There was a circular of March, then there was a circular further clarifying in June, and in October it was revoked. Now we had filed some representations before the GSTN, and it is under consideration, and we expect that further clarification may be issued in those matters. So wait for the lockdown period, and till then enjoy that no notices are being issued in the lockdown period. We had a very quiet March.
In the meantime, he can read out those circulars which were issued and then withdrawn, so that he should have a knowledge when new circular comes.
That's right, sir. That's right. I think we will be ending the session with this note. I would be asking our speaker, sir, H.L. Madan Sahab, to say a few words as a concluding remark, and then the chairman, sir. And just to remind you all, tomorrow again, 9:45 a.m., we have a session on income tax with the chairman being CA Manish Borad, member Income Tax Appellate Tribunal, Indore Bench. Mr. Manish Borad, member Income Tax Appellate Tribunal, Indore Bench, would be the chairman of tomorrow's session, and the speaker would be Mr. Mahendra Gargia, a senior advocate from Jaipur on the income tax. Please join us tomorrow, 9:45 a.m., same time, same place, with the same ID. The ID continues for all the webinars. So please join us tomorrow again. And with this, I would now request our speaker, Madan Sahab, to conclude, and then to the chairman, sir.
Sir, respected chairman and dear friends, I'm extremely thankful to the Central Zone and especially Mr. Pankaj Ghia for giving me this opportunity to share my thoughts with you. And I really congratulate Mr. Pankaj Ghia and the Central Zone for organizing so wonderful webinars and keeping us busy every day, either on speaking or on listening, and enhancing our knowledge on daily basis, which we could not have otherwise enhanced our knowledge thanks to lockdown also for enhancing our knowledge and Mr. Pankaj Ghia. Pankaj ji, thank you very much once again, and pranam to Mr. PC Joshi sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Pankaj. Actually, I feel that Ramayana is over and now Uttar Ramayana is going on. Thank you very much. It gives me a great opportunity for reading again section 15 and the rules concerned. Thank you very much.
Thank you, everybody. I would request now our Secretary Central Zone, Sandeep Agarwal, to propose the vote of thanks. Sandeep, can you speak? I would unmute you. Yes, Sandeep, you are live now. Sandeep. Sandeep Agarwal, can you speak? Yes.
Thank you, all of you. I'm thankful to today's chairman, PC Joshi sir, today's learned speaker, Achal Madan sir. Muted.
Sir, Sandeep, go on, please.
I'm thankful to today's chairman, PC Joshi sir, today's speaker, London speaker, Madan sir. I'm thankful to all of you for joining us regularly. Thank you all. Thank you so much.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you. Thank you.
We'll look forward to meet you again tomorrow morning, 9:45 a.m. Same ID, same place, with the chairman, Mr. Manish Vorad, member Income Tax Appellate Tribunal, Indore Bench, and speaker, Mr. Mahendra Gargia. Continue to inform the other members of your profession. Continue to circulate the information to all other professional groups, and continue to bless us, the AFTP and the AFTP Central Zone. And many, many, many thanks to our chairman, our philosopher guide, grandfather, and the Bhishma Pitama of the tax profession, Shri PC Joshi sir, and Shri Achal Madan, the prolific speaker, the wizard of the GST. I would say thank you, everybody. Bye bye. Have a good day. Have a good day. Enjoy and have fun. Thank you. Bye bye.
Thank you. Thank you.
I would be ending the meeting, sir, with shortly.